think about what Sam Altman has said about AI, his basic thing is that the two limited inputs that we all have are the cost of intelligence and the cost of energy. And if you can reduce those costs dramatically through AI, then I think that much more greatly advantages the poor rather than the rich. So from that as a starting point, I think AI has the potential to greatly reduce, let's say, the perceived cost premium or the work associated, the additional work associated with impact investing, meaning like all the rigorous analysis and reporting that's required to actually prove the impact, the measurement that's required to prove the impact. So just in a very basic way, I think the additional sort of analytic power, the additional power to process data could pretty dramatically reduce the cost premium, or let's say just the delta of having to do that additional work for impact investing. So there's that aspect of it, like the efficiency in the process. But there's also an interesting angle here too, is that AI is just so greatly speeding up our ability to analyze and process and create efficiencies in every aspect of production and manufacturing and how we do anything, right? And so it's really interesting. Now all of a sudden, we can sort of discern impact and in all sorts of, like in building houses or building any sort of construction. Now we have much more ability to figure out what are the emissions, for example, of doing that. And how do we reduce that? How do we reduce the energy involved in doing that? So there's sort of like the first order effects and then the second order effects of AI. Yeah, there is. I mean, I think it's already a lot easier to use AI. For example, Dave from the Boston Consulting Group was talking about how he and his team are already using AI to understand much more quickly and much better the climate risks, right? Like how much will the seas rise when advising on potential building sites and so forth. That's an example. Using AI to in the field of health, that's definitely already underway. Improving the ability of people in very far-flung rural areas, for example, to more quickly access and doctors to access health data and imaging, for example. There are many, many examples already happening right now. That's the key thing. So all of this promise is great, but it has to be, of course, regulated, right? So a person on my team, Sasha Veslik, who's sort of one of the leading pioneers of ESG investing, he made the point that, look, if optimized, AI can kind of greatly reduce or maybe even eliminate the need for ESG ratings companies, right? Because we can just do it ourselves or through AI applications. But only if there's proper regulation, like if there's a level playing field and everybody knows what the sort of standards and metrics are. So we're a relatively new sustainable investment platform. We are focused on sort of radical change in how we invest and how capital is deployed for good. But we believe fundamentally that solving these incredible challenges around climate change, around limited resources and consumption can create really outsized returns. So we're focusing especially here in Asia on circular economy types of solutions and investing in early stage, growth stage. Even in this sort of challenging market over the last year, I think there's more and more interest, and it's just because there's a compelling need, right? I mean, we're investing in things like Nilo, a company out of New Zealand that's found a really innovative solution to deal with all plastic waste and turn plastic waste into usable things like roads or building materials. And plastic waste problem is massive in Asia. or a company out of India called Ideation 3X, which is focused on solid waste management in a much more circular way. So these sorts of, all the issues around the circular economy and all the problems around not having a circular economy are much more accentuated here in Asia, especially in South Asia. So I think the compelling need will help drive capital to find compelling solutions. And I think, in fact, there's been a lot of fundraising and funding into the startup space in climate tech, and especially in the circular economy over the past years. But we've identified, I think, a real gap in growth stage investing. And so that's what, with our partners, we want to help address. I think the work that was important there was to sort of bring the private sector and private sector solutions closer to these global challenges, right? So part of it was just that, like bringing in these partnerships. But then it was, how do we establish norms and standards for impact investing, for sustainable finance? What's the sort of roadmap? What are the rules of the game? So I think, and that sort of normative guidance is important for the UN to play an important role.